In 3, 2, 1. Trade deadline, man, it's one of those things that has become more popular by the year. Now that you have a new crop of general managers in the league, you're seeing guys are being a lot more aggressive. You're also seeing teams like the Miami Dolphins willing to trade away some of their talent to stockpile for the future. I personally have never been on the trading block, although I've had inquiries about me. In 2010, I'll just say, at the time, the Green Bay Packers showed a lot of interest in me. The Rams were unwilling to let go. So although I've never been on the trading block, I have been on the other side of things where I've been the veteran in the locker room looking for help. And sure enough, one particular season we actually had traded for a great receiver by the name of Brandon Lloyd. Brandon Lloyd was coming from the Denver Broncos. He was a heck of a receiver, had already played in San Francisco, had a short stint in Denver, went on to play also in New England, if I'm not mistaken. When you walk into a new locker room in the middle of the season, you know maybe one or two people, but you didn't put in that groundwork with guys. During the training camp summers, that's when camaraderie is built, that's when the bond is built, that's when you get timing from your quarterbacks with the rest of the offense, and that's just when in general the team just come together and just seem to have that chemistry that we all look for, especially later in the season. To have a guy walk into the locker room midway through the season, you never know what you're gonna get. You may get a guy that's unhappy with the circumstances that he may have been traded to, he's looking for more money, or he just want a better opportunity, and this particular team that may be traded for him don't have the best scheme to work with his skill set. All that being said, when Brandon Lloyd walked into the locker room, I didn't care what offense we were running. I was willing to change the offense. We needed a deep threat. We needed somebody to stretch the field, and obviously I would like for somebody to take a little bit of the pressure of an 8-man box off of me. So when Brandon Lloyd walked into the locker room, I love the guy. He's one of those guys that's very passionate. He played the game the way I believe that it should be played, at a very high level, but more fun than anything. Most people think that because you trade for a guy or you bring on this new talent on the team, that he's a shoo-in, he's a plug-in into the circumstances, and now you want to go off and win the Super Bowl. You still have a lot of variables to consider. Injuries, you got to talk about schematics. When you're talking about bringing on more talent on the team and you feel like that your team is one or two pieces away from putting it all together, things could go haywire really fast. And that likens to my experience when I moved from St. Louis to Atlanta, play for the Falcons. But I didn't do a good job, I will admit. Well, you got to do your due diligence a little more. And I think this is where a lot of guys mess up, especially when you're in the prime, you're in the thick of things. You're trying to win the Super Bowl or you're trying to get the next big contract. Long term, you got to look at how, whatever position you play, how does that team particularly draft, scout, or even develop that talent? And then from there, what are the supporting positions that help you succeed at your job? So for me personally, as a running back, obviously it's the offensive line. I didn't take all those things into consideration. I didn't take into consideration that Atlanta Falcons were a high-flying team at the time, it still is. A run game, 3-4 yards on cloud of dust for maybe a quarter or two. If that team really don't know you, they really not bought in on you, or they don't really feel like they could trust you just yet, it's a hard thing to do. So then you out there, you feel like you got to play outside yourself. You got to come up with the big play. That could be very challenging and kind of leave yourself in a limbo of asking yourself, did I make the right decision? Regardless of how things work out for you or your favorite player that may have been traded or a team that acquired someone, it's really important that front office management and that player and his representation, whoever it is, that they have a real honest conversation with themselves. Not only about the short-term goals, but the long-term goals and what both are trying to achieve. When you have a guy or a marquee player that walks into your locker room, be it a Jalen Ramsey, be it an Emmanuel Sanders, it's one of those things that you just hope when that guy walks into the room, he's all on board. He's willing to do whatever it takes to help the team be better. And if he has a possible future, especially a younger guy, you hope that you could lock him down to a long-term contract and you guys can not only be brothers for a season, but actually for a few seasons if you're lucky.